second half hurt us a little bit. In particular, start of the third quarter was sloppy. But I think overall, the team did a good job of moving the ball to have 35 assists. And it was nice to have a night where we, made a few threes. But I think overall, the team understood how we wanted to play tonight and executed fairly well.
When you talk about the 48 points in the paint, obviously, against a team with a 7'4" Victor, that feels even more important. How were you guys able to keep him from kind of running away?
Yeah, I think, Taylor guarded Victor for the majority of the game. We felt like his kind of mixture of having enough size, no one has enough size to guard Victor, but I think, Taylor did a good job of using his speed and his length, tried to climb up underneath him a little bit and speed him up some. Ends up fouling out with 2 tough plays. It allowed his teammates to help him. We wanted to show heavy shifts to Wanyama when he was in the post and in his isolations. And so I thought Taylor did a good job at the point of attack, and everybody else helped behind him.
Victor had 3 blocks early in the first quarter, but then just 2 the rest. Do offensively to kind of adjust to his presence in the post and kind of shut him down from denying him the paint.
Yeah, they ended up with 11 block shots. They had 7 of them in the first 5 minutes of the game, I think, 6 minutes of the game. We did a poor job with our rim reads early in the game. It was a huge focus for us offensively, was that he was going to come to help as much as possible. Obviously we tried to match his minutes with John a lot tonight. We felt like John's spacing, John's ability to pick and pop would put Wanyama in some situations where he was going to have to make some choices. Because he's such an elite rim protector, we needed to try to put him in space as much as possible. It doesn't mean that he's not going to come help at times, but it's easier to see the help coming when it starts on the perimeter and has to make a long way to the basket. I think when if he were to guard somebody like Walker for a long period of time where Walker's in and around the basket a little bit more, those rotations are short and his length can sort of shock you a little bit. So I thought the team did a good job of adjusting to some spacing elements that we wanted to have versus Victor. And then I think John did a really good job of recognizing when he was the screener with Victor guarding and they needed to pop more than roll.
With your ability to force turnovers, how much is that, you guys, when you help, how much do you want to force turnovers versus kind of get the ball out of somebody's hands and then rotate back up?
To be aggressive. It's not a trapping defense. We're just trying to show a little bit more help on the ball, a little bit higher up the floor than we have for the majority of the season. And so I thought, in the first half we saw a couple of possessions where we did a good enough job of putting pressure on the ball handler that Chris Dunn was able to use his instincts and get a few steals. So it's not as much like we're telling the team, hey, we're trying to force more turnovers, as much as we're just trying to give them license to be more aggressive in those helping situations. We don't want to turn the game into we're shooting the gap, trying to steal every pass. I think then it becomes an all or nothing situation. But, our perimeter defenders, they do have speed. Colin, even in the second half, you saw him get his hand on a few balls because he's such a good athlete when he's in that shift position. So, he and Chris do it differently, but they both had some success with it tonight.
So you talk about Taylor's defense on Wemby, but offensively, he obviously had a better game throughout, probably the best game he's had so far this year. Was he doing anything differently that contributed to that from your perspective?
No, I thought, he's doing a good job of recognizing the spacing that he needs to play with. A lot of times he ends up being somebody that's sprinting down the floor to fill the corner. And then I thought he had some moments where he did a good job reading closeouts. Like the baseline drive dunk he got in front of our bench, I thought was, a sign of him and all the work he's put in on making quick decisions with the ball. So he's getting a little bit more confidence as well, which is natural. It's been a couple of games now that he's been a starter, and I would expect him to be more comfortable tonight than he was last game, and I would hope that by the end of this road trip, he's a little more comfortable than he is tonight.
Were you pleased with the composure that the team showed in the fourth quarter when San Antonio did make a run? They cut it to 9, and then you guys had 6 straight possessions on offense where you got a basket, and that kind of put things back out of reach.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's shot making. I thought the team, in the timeout, like nobody was panicked. They were very focused on the task at hand. But, in those moments, we were able to hit a couple of threes in a row, which I think helped everybody settle down because the lead then goes from, 9 to 15 pretty quick. And that eases the tension, and I think it allowed us to have a little bit of poise. But I thought their approach, like when we were down 9 and we were in that timeout, they were all in a good headspace about what we needed to do coming out of the timeout. It was a fortunate time to make a few shots in a row.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.